Salute to Knicks Nation. The streets are buzzing. Welcome in to the final post-game of NBA Summer League 26 as the Knicks go down to Washington. But this one was a fun game to break down. And Dink Pate closed out Summer League, man, in style as Mohamed Diawara returned in this one and flashed some great playmaking abilities. No Hakporti, Dardier, and McCollum and Kolek sat in the second half. So not really focused on the result in this one, but Dink Pate, Mohamed Diawara had an amazing game. And we're going to talk about it and much, much more. We'll give out the Summer League grades. We'll shout out the chat and salute to Knicks Nation, Replay Squad. What's good? Walter Blackman, our Tango. Great to see you guys in the building. As we break down the box score, first and foremost, man, Dink Pate, his best game of Summer League, just continued to get better and better and better every single game. And the three-point ball has come, and been a welcome sight throughout Summer League. Finished with 20 and 10, with 3 assists as well, a steal, 2 blocks, and stuffing the stat sheet, man. Dink Pate, 2010. He looks like he's all but secured the two-way, and we've got a report coming through that basically is suggesting that Dink Pate has got the two-way already. And we'll talk about all that tonight, guys. Salute to the chat. We have some breaking news as well. Marcus Smart, a New York Knicks target, has been bought out now and intends to sign with the LA Lakers. So looks like the Knicks will pivot quickly, and they'll probably go to Landry Shamet. And we'll obviously talk about that. Marcus Smart would have been a great addition, but there's always a long list of teams looking to snap up these players when they get bought out. What do you guys think? Marcus Smart headed to LA. A little bit of a surprise in that one, but with that said, guys, we're obviously fully focused on adding our 14th and 13th guy. And I think, starting from Summer League, we got to see so many flashes. Beauchamp and Kolek finished the Summer League pretty strong. So great to see those guys. We'll give out the grades in a minute. Hakporti looked great. Got shut down early with the knee sprain. Dardier looked okay. He'll get a pass. McCollum looked great. Nnaji here got to showcase a little bit of his handles further out and got to the line in this one. I think Nnaji was dealing with some back issues, but I think all in all, I think Nnaji will stick around, and he'll be a big that they look to develop, and he'll probably get a two-way contract or come to training camp to compete for the two-way. But Dink Pate has all but secured a two-way contract, man, and this guy has been thoroughly, thoroughly impressive, man. Getting to the rack, 20-10 tonight, 2 blocks, a steal, 3 assists, and the three-point ball been better than advertised. Paula, Juan, what's good? Abdul, J-Dub, give us your thoughts. Juan says, I think Beauchamp, Pate, Diwara should be signed for the two ways. Abdul says it's really between Shamet and Simmons. Yeah, we're going to hear what happens with Simmons. Steve Popper Newsday is basically talking about it's a long shot, and the buzz towards Landry Shamet is a little bit louder at this current juncture. But I think Ben Simmons complements this team with his skill set. Right? J Dub says Dink Pate is the truth. Yes, sir. We're reacting, man, on a Saturday night to the final Summer League game, but Dink Pate made it all worth it, man. And Mohamed Diawara as well. We'll go through all the highlights and shout you guys out, right? A lot of people didn't know there was a final Summer League game. We were onto it, and Dink Pate came to play, man. Here was one of his steals, and what a throwdown in transition, man. 6'8" athlete. We got ourselves a steal. How did this guy go undrafted, man? Also, another steal. Mohamed Diawara flashed more playmaking abilities. Look at that wraparound with the left hand, man. We're going to give out these grades in a minute, man. We won't we won't delay too much further, but we'll break down more highlights tonight. We'll look at the road ahead and talk about the latest news with Marcus Smart headed out to the Lakers and the Knicks looking like they'll get Landry Shamet. But how can any of these guys factor in this season? I tell you what, man, Dink Pate, Diawara, they're going to make Westchester very, very fun, but they will push, they will press for opportunities. McCullum, Dardier, Hukporty, Kolek finish strong. I think it's always not how you start, it's how you finish, ladies and gentlemen. And I think, the 1-4 record is obviously trash, but you're not looking at that when you look at Summer League. We're playing against some teams with other rookies that are further along, but also funky lineups, guys out with injuries, guys sitting as well. So that wasn't as much of a factor as the play on the court. Guys, we had Knicks returning assistant coach Mo Cheeks received the Lifetime Award, the Tex winner assistant coach Lifetime Award as well. So congrats to Mo Cheeks real quick on that one. The Knicks finished the second half with good energy. There was some good ball movement, man. I thought Anton Watson showcased his three-point stroke. Obviously, on the two-way last season, he's really up against it. But I thought Anton Watson finished the Summer League quite strong, and I had a solid game today. As you see, Beauchamp also finished Summer League strong. Wasn't as prevalent today, but obviously didn't play as many minutes and sat with Kolek in the second half to give more of these other guys, more of a shot. But Yabusele, an update, he's going to rock the number 28. Gershwan Yabusele, man. Let us know if you plan to cop number 28. The last Nick that wore that number was Andrew Lang back in 2000. So Yabusele selected his number. And another French prospect continues to make a name for himself, man. I thought, Diawara, I'm so glad that he came back after the ankle sprain last game. But yeah, he looked great today, off the bounce, making plays, seeing over the defense with his length there, finding the guys in the corners, keeping his head up, not forcing it into traffic. So his playmaking has been thoroughly the most impressive thing outside of his physical profile, man. His size, athleticism, and ability to put the ball on the deck, at 6'9", 6'10", I can't wait to see what the future holds for Mohamed Diawara. Get him in ASAP. J Dub says Dink Pate definitely got that two-way. Welcome to the squad. Yeah, so we had a report on X from Lee Escobedo, basically with sources confirming to him that Dink Pate has secured the two-way already. So we just have to wait for official confirmation, but that report has come out from Lee, and no surprise, Dink Pate thoroughly deserving. But Diwara was a real pleasant surprise. Dirty Dancer in the building says, I'd still wait to see if there are any other buyout guys before taking Shamet back. Yeah, so I agree. I think Landry's not going to go anywhere. I think you kind of keep him on ice. You kind of say, hey, Landry, we just want to see what else is happening. And with that said, I think it'll most likely be Landry, but you just never know. Malcolm Brogdon could still get a buyout. So Marcus Smart going to LA, I don't know if that really improves their chances. I don't think that is going to swing the needle too much. But that said, I think Landry would be a fine addition. I think we still need a little bit more ball handling and playmaking abilities. Does Landry really do that? He doesn't, but he provides shot making. He provides, cohesion, chemistry, and some good locker room vibes. But we're building, man. Is Dink Pate, the biggest thing that stood out to me was his three-point ball, man. I think the mechanics look a little funky, but it's effective, man. And he was 3 of 4 early in the first half, and they gave him some space and no hesitation. He just let it fly. from downtown, Dink Pate. So great confidence building summer league to build on with the two-way. Yeah, KC, we got confirmation that basically Pate will get the two-way. Buzzer beater, Cardiac, welcome into the building. Great to see everyone rocking with us. Smash that like button. Well, Dink Pate's rocking the number 28 right there. So maybe he was hoping to get the number 28. But that's going to go to Yabusele. Another guy who had the three-point ball going early was Diwara off the bounce. Right. What was the most impressive thing that you saw with Diwara? To me, it was the handles ability. You know, I mean, the comparisons to Pascal Siakam, it's been widely spread and documented, but I don't think it's too far-fetched. You know, you look at him and you see a rangy, lanky, wing, jumbo-sized wing, putting the ball on the deck with a little bit of a loose handle. But when they give him that much space, he'll get to his spots, with his length and size. He'll get to his spots. So the three-point ball was a pleasant sight in this one today. New York Knicks shot 35% from downtown, which is a lot better. Thank you to Anton Watson, went 5 of 8. So he did his chances no harm, formally on the two-way. Anton Watson today said, hey, don't forget about me. He said, don't forget about me, guys. But there's a lot of two-ways to go around, man. The league might need to extend these two-ways to 5 per team. But Diawara stuffed the stat sheet. 9 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals, just 2 turnovers, and just 1 foul. 4 of 11 from the field. Did Mo Diawara, the New York Knicks lone draft pick, concluded summer league with a nice, well-rounded game. 9.9723 and 1 of 5 from downtown. So that is Muhammad Diawara. Today's stat sheet. Guys, we pull up more highlights. As we have the report confirming that Dink Pate will get the two-way from Lee Escobedo. You see the handle and the post on X right there. So Dink Pate, I don't think it was in much of a doubt. They drafted him. They took him undrafted with the signing, so they had full intentions to bring him into training camp, and now he'll get the two-way. As you see some nice playmaking from Dink Pate with the left hand, a jumbo-sized playmaker, man, a wing, and a guy who can handle the ball. So I actually feel better about signing Landry Shamet now, because he got McCollum, who showed that he could be on the ball a bit this summer league. You saw Dink Pate, you saw Muhammad Diawara, you still got Deuce, McCall, Brunson, Jordan Clarkson, Josh Hart. I think we're okay. I think we're okay for ball handling. So we're in a situation where I think we'll be okay. Based on what I've seen from Lee, he is connected with some of the closer circle of Dink Pate from the Dallas area. So that's what I saw. So yeah, he's obviously plugged in a little closer to Dink Pate's circle as well. Deshaun Watson says, well, we saw today again, Dink Pate can play with some development and body strength. This kid can be something good. Definitely, I think, touted as a lottery pick, 2 years ago, Deshaun, and I think the talent and the potential is on full display with this one. Marjon Beauchamp wasn't featured as heavily today, but I thought he reduced tunnel vision more and increased the playmaking earlier today. So this was a good drive. He was overwhelmed with traffic collapsing there and kicked it to Anton Watson, man, for one of his 5 threes. Look, Anton Watson will probably come to camp, but he probably is not going to get a two-way with the Knicks. He's up against it. And Yabusele is very active on social media. Received a gift, man, orange and blue PS5 with the bear sticks, as he's known as the dancing bear. He's ready for NBA 2K26. Fam. So we're reacting to the conclusion of Summer League. We'll get through more of these stats and shout you guys out. Cardiac says that they said Halliburton's shot was broken. Yeah, if it goes down, I don't care how it looks. You know, if it's effective, it goes down, fam. So yeah, in the spur of now, these are my Summer League grades at this current juncture. We'll continue to break it down in the future streams in the days ahead. But right now, I think Mohamed Diawara and Dink Pate, off the back of today, finished really, really strong. And I'm going to give them a B+, based on expectations, right? This is based off expectations coming in to Summer League. So I'll give those two a B+. I think Marjan Beauchamp and Kevin McCullum both deserve a B. But Beauchamp had a little slow start, but really found his rhythm. And I think McCullum had the 30 piece. Look, before he got shut down, looked as as advertised. As a wing comfortable on the ball and able to score and make some plays. Ariel Hukporti, I think, was the most consistent, Nick, in terms of minutes. That's going to translate to the big club. He'll get an A-. And I'll give Dardier and Tyler Kolek a B-. And I'll give James Nnaji a C. Fam? But yeah, give us your grades and we'll shout it out. Dink Pate's ball handling looks really good too, yeah, for his size and length, Deshaun. I think he's a guy who is going to be able to play on the ball a lot more and get to the rack. And you see his finishing is really, really strong as well, fam. And I like the defensive energy and hustle that we saw. Yeah, Dirty says McCullum deserves a B+. I think just the fact that it was a little bit of a sour note, the way it finished. The fact that he wasn't able to finish Summer League due to the injury. Would have loved to see McCullum have another great game. But Dink Pate's last 3 games was great to see, and I think he's going to be fun to watch in preseason. And we know Mike Brown, who's in the building, who's been taking notes, was very open to playing extended rotations in preseason, regular season as well. So the more these guys can show out, man, we got one for the future when it comes to Dink Pate. I'm excited. G Cases, Diawara and Dink, nice job. And you weren't a fan of Kolek's performance. I think Kolek, yeah, I gave him the B-. A couple of great show-out games. But to push for minutes, he's really going to have to become better on the defensive end and more stable with the basketball. Today he only had 2 turnovers, 7 points, but 4 assists, 3 of 9 from the field, so 1 of 6 from downtown. So inefficient from downtown from Tyler Kolek. But it's Summer League, he's going to get a lot more shots that he's not going to put up, I think, with the big club when it comes to that. Day Grant, he got an opportunity. I didn't really like what I saw from Day Grant in this one. Especially that play where he put up a 3. I think somebody hustled for the rebound and kicked it back out, and he chucked up the 3 again. But that's what you're going to get with Summer League. Anton Watson, 8 of 13. Like I said, 21 points. He did his chances no harm. I think he'll come into Westchester or training camp, but he's probably not going to stick with the club because there's just too many guys ahead of him right now competing for the 2-way. You got Beauchamp, you got Diwara, you got Nnaji right now. Diwara still in contention for the regular roster spot. Who's that going to go to now for you guys? Who gets the regular rookie roster spot? We know Landry or veteran is going to get the 13th spot. For the 14th spot, my opinion right now, guys, is I'd be okay giving it to Diwara or McCullum right now. Diwara deserves it, and so does McCullum. So whoever doesn't get it is going to get a 2-way. So I'm really not sweating it too much, but I just think, I guess, for for sense, I guess Diawara is only 20, and he can take a little bit more time, whereas McCullum is 24. And I think, putting him on the two-way doesn't make as much sense. Start his rookie contract and let Diawara take a little bit of time to work his way up. Show Khan says Diawara, give it to him. Dirty Dancer says should be Diawara as well. What's up, Margaret? Dirty says also don't have enough money for McCullum. I believe we do. Because McCullum was only on the two-way last year, so his second round exception rookie deal hasn't started yet. But look, if it is Diawara, I'll be very happy. And I found that Diawara was a huge surprise in Summer League from what I saw. Right, still raw, still requiring development minutes, and he'll get plenty of that in Westchester. Right, but it just looks like he'll give, in a pinch, he'll be able to give the main squad something. Right, which is all you can ask for, man. At the 51st pick, if he could just give him something with his length and ability to guard 1 through 5. I mean, he was finishing over Time, the center, on Brooklyn, and you see here, you could just see over the traffic. With that said, so Dirty says McCullum's not a rookie though, so he has to be paid the $2 million salary. Okay, that'll be a surprise. It does seem a little silly on that CBA nugget, but I do know Gershon Yabusele took less than he needed to. He took $200K less when he only needed to take $35K less. So I kind of felt like that was to fit McCullum in. But we'll obviously, give it to Diwara in that case, because Nnaji's not going to get it ahead of Diwara. We see Dink Pate finish on fire with his three-point shooting abilities in this one, man. They say Halliburton's shot was broken, like Cardiac said in the chat. Dink Pate's shot has that little hitch. It kind of reminds me a little bit of Mikal Bridges' shot right there. But it's been effective throughout Summer League, and you love to see that catch and shoot. If he wants to play on ball, off ball, and be that, wing that the Knicks could use in the future, knocking down these open catch and shoots is key. But he's been able to pull up on the ball too with the 3-point ball, so that's great. If he's eligible, J-Dub says McCullum Jr. should get that rookie contract. El Tango says give it to K-Mac and Diawara the two-way spot. Yep, I could see that happening if McCullum is able to get it. Coach CT, what's good? Margaret says is Dink Pate signed. Basically, Margaret, we have the two-way deal going to Dink Pate, reportedly Escobedo, so it does look like Dink Pate's going to get a two-way contract, and it was inevitable based on the signing after the draft. How did he go undrafted, though? Seriously, how did somebody in the late 50s not take up Dink Pate? I'm going to assume that maybe the Knicks reached out to his agent, and or his agent said to teams, look, don't draft him. I want to choose his destination. And they chose the New York Knicks, ladies and gentlemen. Because you can't tell me, like, teams like Indiana, who selected, they selected Talon Peter. Guys that went, in the late 50s, those projects. Y'all can't tell me that they didn't want to take Dink Pate ahead of some of those guys. So, I think there was a bit of work behind the scenes done by the New York Knicks to get the Dink Pate thing over the line. But he'll definitely be coming into to training camp. With that said, fam, now his ability to finish in traffic was important, but he wasn't tunnel vision either. He was really moving the ball with 10 rebounds too. So that's another thing. Dink Pate's rebounding today was exceptional. You saw his size. You saw his ability to grab and go, like Josh Hart, with his size and ball handling ability. He grabbed the rebound, pushed the break, and finished 20-10 and change. You know, Pate had just 2 turnovers, just 2 fouls, 3 assists, a steal, 2 blocks, and the 10 rebounds, fam. 4 of 7 from downtown, 7 of 12. So, huge tick for Dink Pate and Diwara. They'll get the B pluses for me. Cardiac, on the thoughts of Diawara, his game is already more polished than Dardier. You know what, Cardiac? I hadn't heard that take before, but I think you could be right. I think you could be right. I think Diawara does look more comfortable on the ball. Not going to lie. I mean, both their three-point shots are shaky at best right now, or streaky. But with that said, I think on the ball, Cardiac, making plays. Off the ball, I think Dardier is perfect. He's been cutting well. You know, he's been, reading the floor, knowing when to move, and all of that. So that's been fine. But in regards to on the ball, I think Diawara does look more polished right now. Chris Connors says, I know it's a bit early, but I could see Dink being in the main rotation right now. Man, I could see it happening in the future, Chris. But yeah, you know, you make that point about right now. I think ball handling abilities is something we're looking for, and he might fill that void. You know, I bring up the roster right now. Assuming we are going to bring back Landry, there's no proven point guard with the second unit. You got Clarkson, you got Deuce, you've got Hart. Obviously, can push the ball in transition. Off the bench, you've got Kolek, who I've given Kolek a B- for Summer League. You know, finished stronger than what he started. It was a disaster the way he started, but there's still question marks. There's still question marks at this level. How effective can Kolek be? Now, his trainer, Chris Brickley, put out a great tweet that you got to consider that Kolek is going to be playing with better players. You know, he's going to be playing with shot makers, and he's going to be playing with guys that are stronger. So I do think Kolek can fit in with the big club better than what's shown at Summer League, but he's still got ways to go. Fam, he's still got ways to go to, you know, to prove that he could be that backup point guard. And I think it's going to be a real slugfest, you know, in training camp, right? Now, we can't forget about the other young rookie we're bringing in, James Nnaji. Guys, give us your takes. Give us your thoughts on what you saw from James Nnaji in limited showings. I thought it was a mixed bag, but a little sloppy at times. But one thing's that translate, rebounding, his long wingspan, you know, 7'4" standing reach looked legit. I mean, he's carved out of wood. He's strong. I like this play here where he got to the line. This is something that we don't really get from Mitchell Robinson. We get a little bit from Karl Anthony Towns. Huck Porty, I want to see this from Huck Porty as well. But hey, they're sagging off him. They got a small. Be a man and take it to the rack, fam. No more of this dribble handoff, right? If they've got nobody on you, be aggressive. And James Nnaji showed some of that aggression in this one. The handles there, little loose, but was able to make something happen. Now, I think Nnaji's handle, you know, he's obviously got reps in Europe. That's helped him out a lot. But I think he's dealing with back tightness. And anybody that's dealt with back tightness before as well, man, salute to you, because it's tough, right? And it's tough to overcome. And Nnaji's had a big back operation last season, and I think that's something to watch moving forward. Hopefully he can get a clean bill of health, because I do think he's going to get a two-way. Guys, I do think he's going to get a two-way. I'm not going to lie. Look, he's probably competing against... So let's say Dink Pate gets one of the two ways. Let's say McCollum or Diwara. Whoever does not get the main spot will get the other two-way. So then it comes down to Anton Watson, Marjon Beauchamp, and James Nnaji for the other two-way, because we know Dink Pate's going to get one. So let us know your thoughts, guys. Who gets the third two-way? So Diawara or McCollum will get one of them. Dink Pate got the second one. Who's got the third two-way? Is it Nnaji, Anton Watson, or Marjon Beauchamp? I think it's going to be a tough call right now. Just based on what I see, James Nnaji's agent in that report seemed very confident that if they come to the States, they will work something out, right? Now, Nnaji will be in training camp. He'll be in summer league. He'll be in training camp preseason. But they might cut him. They might cut him and say, look, stay overseas for one more year. They could also say, look, hang out in Westchester. Maybe hang out in Westchester. But right now, it's a situation where we might need another big. But Beauchamp definitely finished strong. Dirty says Nnaji's handle is nice for a guy with a 7'6" wingspan. Yep. Chris says you could put Nnaji in the G League. He needs more development time. Yep. Agree. Prezi salute. Margaret says Knicks have to sign Nnaji or else another team might take him. So we still have his rights, Margaret. So he can go back overseas and he'll be safe over there. Nobody could take Nnaji. He can't enter the NBA until the Knicks relinquish his rights. So we're going to see. But if I'm making a prediction, man, this might be unpopular. But I do think that Nnaji will end up with a two-way. And I think it might be Marjon Beauchamp that misses out. Fam, it might be Marjon Beauchamp that misses out. But I do think it's probably going to come down to Nnaji versus Beauchamp for that final two-way. Because, Diawara has to get one, or McCollum. And Dink Pate has to get one. So, yeah, it's going to come down to those two guys, fam. Also, the final spot is getting closer to being filled, and I do think it's going to be Landry at this point, as we have the confirmation that Marcus Smart is headed to the Lakers, man, after his buyout is official. But man, Mohamed Diawara and Dink Pate, I'm excited. I'm so excited for these guys now because I do think they could give you some production in the pinch right now. You're not going to rely on the three-point ball, but what you can rely on is things that you see here. Like, he looks comfortable on the ball, man. Like Cardiac's point earlier, do we see these kinds of things from Pacome Dardier? And I'm excited about Dardier's future, but we don't see this level of on-the-ball reps and passing right now. And Diwara has flashed that all summer league, not just tonight. SB, salute with the super chat. Appreciate it. Keeping the streets buzzing. I feel more comfortable with Dink at point guard than Kolek. Am I alone? SB, man, I think you're onto something. I think definitely the size is a big factor, and as good as Kolek's vision can be, the NBA game is tough, when you're going up against length and size. So, I think Dink Pate, man, with you want to see those assists go up. Now, he's not a primary point guard at the moment. I think he's more of a secondary point guard. But when he's on the ball, yeah, his ability to get downhill is big. He had 3 dimes tonight. There's reports that, he would have liked to be on the ball a little bit more from earlier in Summer League, but there was a lot of guys that they had to give, opportunities to. So I think with Dink Pate, the 3-point ball definitely looks better, fam. As I pull up his 3 threes from earlier in the ball game at the first half. I trust Dink Pate's 3-point shot over Kolek's right now. He was more effective from downtown. Prez says, where can I watch the game? ESPN Plus, fam. It was on ESPN, NBA TV. But if you will need to subscribe online to ESPN Plus. Margaret Edwards says Diawara is a rookie. Should he get a rookie spot? I think he probably should. I like McCullum a lot, but Diwara can guard fives and McCullum can't. And so, given Diawara's ability to handle Margaret and make plays, I gotta say, man, I probably changed my mind. Like, I was like, McCullum deserves that final vet spot, and I would still be okay if he gets that spot. But I just think Diawara's ability, man, to guard centers is ridiculous, man. It's crazy. 7'4" wingspan, fam. 9'2" standing reach. So just to give y'all some context, James Nnaji, who's a 7-footer, has a 9'4" standing reach. Muhammad Diawara's standing reach is 9'2". 9'2". Nnaji's is 9'4". So his standing reach is almost the same as James Nnaji's. And that, for a squad kind of light on traditional, centers, we kind of need to get creative guarding fives. Like, what if Cat misses time or is foul trouble, or Mitch misses some time? You're down to Yabusele and you're down to Huck. Nobody on the bench, in terms of the other guys, can guard centers. So that could tip the scales in Muhammad Diawara's favor for that final regular roster spot. We all know Huck Porty's been dealing with the meniscus as well. So get me another guy on the squad who can guard fives, and be that small ball five. And similar to what people were talking about with Larry Nance, But you also see this vision, man, here with the step back. I mean, that that play reminds me of Zach LaVine, fam. Taking away the player's profile, if you just blanked out Diwara as a blank silhouette, that's the kind of pullback off the dribble step back three that you see from Zach LaVine, fam, and you see that from Muhammad Diwara right now in his first summer league. You can tell I'm excited right now. Mark says Kolek's a bit overrated or overrated. Coach says you are not alone, man, to SB about Dink Pate being more comfortable with him on the ball. You could ask the same question. Are you more comfortable with Diwara on the ball than Dardier right now? I mean, Dardier hasn't... Dardier can get to spots, showing that he's got the mid-range pull-up. But in terms of Diwara, his playmaking ability has been special. Finding the corner guys, finding the open guys. The handsome one says, give Jaden Campbell a Westchester Knicks deal. Yep, he had a solid finish late in the game. Prezi the boss says, for the rookie min, it should go to Diwara. But McCullum can also get it since he's eligible, although not a rookie. So the four rooks that are at contracts are Diwara, McCullum, Nnaji, and Pate. Agree. What happens with Beauchamp, fam? I know Chris and a lot of others, and I was high on the pickup with Marjon Beauchamp. So what happens with him right now, guys? I mean, he had a solid last 3 games. He had a solid finish to Summer League. Sharp Powers, salute. Let's go. Let's go, Knicks. Forget the record. Forget the 1-4 record right now. Summer League is... There's a lot of outliers, Funky lineups. Players injured. Players sitting. This and that. Lack of chemistry. But we're looking at our guys that have earned their keep. And definitely Diawara and Dink Pate have finished Summer League the strongest. Right. Kolek sat the second half. He finished better than he started. Beauchamp the same. McCullum was excellent in his, cameo. Huck Porty was excellent in his co-star role. And Dardier was also just solid in his little cameo as well, but he got shut down early, unfortunately. But he's 19. He's on the rookie deal, so we've got plenty of time with those guys, right? He was a nice swing, and the Knicks were in a groove at halftime, fam. They were up for once, were leading and dominating early in this game. Now we have a little highlight pull up from Kolek. Yeah, you want to see this more? I think the commentators and nailed it in terms of Kolek just needing to be aggressive, right? You got to, if you're undersized and the defense is sagging off, you have to get aggressive, Kolek, and you have to hit those shots. Dink Pate was successful at making the defense pay and also reading the floor really well. For those Marjan Beauchamp fans, here was a great read as well. Beauchamp using his size to get to his spot on the smaller man. So I think regardless, Beauchamp's earned a camp invite, and I think he'll come into training camp if another squad doesn't pick him up. D. Grant says Beauchamp is playing to be picked up by another team. Knicks are not going to sign him. But Chris disagrees. Says Beauchamp is getting that vet minimum. I know that's an unpopular opinion, but that's what I feel is going to happen. That way they can also keep Diwara, McCollum, Dink, and Nnaji. Well, it will be difficult, fam. It will be difficult to keep all four of those guys. Actually, no, it won't, if you're correct. Yeah, if Beauchamp gets that vet minimum spot, then that's basically Landry's spot. So, yeah, I'll be surprised if that happens, Chris, but, stranger things have happened. I don't know if they're going to give Beauchamp that spot over Landry, but Beauchamp definitely finished strong in Summer League. Yeah, great point by Prezi the boss as well. Don't forget, like they did last year, the Knicks can sign the 15th guy as the season goes along. As the season progresses, the Knicks could sign the 15th guy on February 28th. As the prorated salary drops, they could fit under that second apron. So they might say to Beauchamp, hey, stick out in Westchester, and then when we can add the 15th guy, we'll then bring you up. There's other opportunities too. As Buzzer also asked, I thought Beauchamp couldn't get a two-way. There's conflicting reports, fam. There's conflicting reports everywhere you read. Some people saying Beauchamp could still get the final year of the two-way. I thought that he can't because he's 3 years in the league. We're just gonna have to wait. We're just gonna have to find out, Buzzer. CBA, all of those issues right now. But I just think it's not really so much of what Beauchamp did or didn't show. It's just the other guys. You drafted Diawara, so he's gonna get a spot. Dink Pate has to get a spot. He's gonna get a two-way, according to reports. McCuller has got a qualifying offer, man. He's definitely coming back. So the team's already made that decision. To me, it's between Nnaji and it's between Beauchamp. As I bring this up, guys, this is something that is a great graph from last season. So the Knicks basically are high in the likeliness to grab the offensive rebound, plus get burned by a transition basket, right? So the Knicks have to find a better middle ground, and guards have to get back in transition, right? So what we're doing is under Thibodeau, we were attacking the glass and vying for those offensive rebounds. But in doing so, we were the most likely to give up a transition basket, right? So how do you find a middle ground? How do you continue to be dominant offensively and grab the offensive rebound on the glass, but not be asinine at, transition defense and giving up a basket, fam? My solution is the guards. The guards have to get back. Right. If Cat, Huckpority, Mitch, Hart attack the offensive glass, McCall, Brunson, Deuce, Clarkson, whoever needs to get back. Needs to get back in transition. Right. So the Knicks, you see in the top right, they basically project to be the worst transition basket, giving up transition baskets. However, one of the highest at getting the offensive rebound. So it's a big time gamble. It's a big time gamble. So yeah, with that said, guys, Marcus Smart headed to LA. James Bond says Marcus Smart trade sucks. Don't care about these kids. F the kids, says James. J Dub says Peyton, Diawara, and Dardier talent is undeniable. Look, man, we're second apron, so a lot of wise people understand that you've got to have backups for the future, fam. Right. There will be a point where we can't be a second apron team 2 years running, and somebody will get traded. Fam. I know a lot of y'all don't like to hear about trades at times, but at some point when the salaries get too high, look at what Boston showed y'all. Chris Stapps, out of there. Luke Cornett, out of there. Al Horford, out of there. Second apron team, they can't afford that. They can't afford being a second apron team 2 years running. Otherwise, all your draft picks get taken away. The NBA will put you in jail, basically. So when it comes to Mitchell Robinson and Mikal Bridges getting their extensions, right, that's going to put us way over the second apron. And we can only do that for 2 years in a row. Once that happens, we've got to find a way to move somebody on. And when we do that, guess who needs to step up? One of the kids. One of the kids needs to step up when one of these veterans might get moved. Right? It's going to happen. Like I said, Boston couldn't keep everybody together. And at some point, one of the kids will be ready. We'll get a little bit more time. And we'll hopefully be ready to kick on. Fam. Salute to the chat. Everyone rocking with us on X. We're live on X, live on YouTube. The streets are buzzing. Smash that like button. Summer League's over now. Summer League is over, guys. And we're looking ahead to the main squad. And who's going to get these final spots. Buzzer Beater says your guards have to play the backcourt and not crash the boards. 100% Buzzer. I think we're definitely looking at McCall and JB in the starting five. They need to get back in transition. Look, to Brunson's credit, he was able to take charges and get back, some of the time, but just not all of the time, man. But yeah, like you said, the guards shouldn't crash the glass. It should be those bigs. So Summer League grades, I think my standouts were Huckpority out of all the veterans. I thought Dardier and McCuller and Beauchamp and Kolek were kind of as advertised. They didn't wow me. They didn't supersede my expectations, but they kind of were just as advertised. But Dink Pate and Muhammad Diawara definitely exceeded my expectations, and they'll get the B+. And James Nnaji will get a C, right? Maybe a C+, C. I know he was dealing with some back injuries, but I think he's more of a longer-term projection when it comes to that. What's up, Johnny? Great to see you. Sharp Power says that's a fact. CT at some point. Yep, definitely. Someone's going to have to step up. Look at Denver, man. They were playing with Julian Strother. They were playing with Peyton Watson. In the NBA Finals. Right? It can be done, man. Dink Pate Hive is alive, says Johnny. Best believe that. Dirty Dancer says 1 year. Don't want to have our pick slotted 30th. Yeah, so that's another great point, Dirty. If you're over the second apron for 2 years in a row, your draft pick becomes the 30th pick. if you're only over the second apron for 1 year, then yeah, you avoid that. Margaret says that is the reason Knicks should keep Beauchamp. McCall is too inconsistent. Knicks need insurance. Look, I think, yeah, McCall will probably get that extension, Margaret. Mitchell Robinson will probably get an extension as well. But that doesn't mean that either of those guys won't get moved on in the future. I was told Julius Randle wasn't going to get traded. I was told RJ Barrett was never going to get traded. None of us thought Dante DiVincenzo would ever get traded. So I guess nobody thought Luka Doncic was ever going to get traded. So things happen. There's the business side of the game that some fans just don't want to understand. And that's fine. Being a fan is different to being in the business. But as well as the game and the sport on the court, there is the business side of the game now. And unfortunately, the NBA has kind of wrecked things a little bit with the CBA. It's kind of tried to avoid these super teams being, slapped together. These super teams now, 3-4 major high salaries. They're trying to penalize those things. You could thank LeBron James. You could thank some of these guys. The Golden State Warriors with Kevin Durant. I think a lot of those things have played a part. But guess what? There's always a fine balance. That means these kids are going to get chances now that they didn't used to get. That means that Yarborough Salehs and Jordan Clarksons can be had on the minimums. Which is also a good thing. With these lower salaries. But yeah, Diawara's playmaking, man, was special. But yeah, I like Dink Pate's finishing at the rim. This was something I wanted to see more of as Summer League progressed. A couple of times he got to a good spot in the paint and then he kicked it back out. But here, Dink Pate was aggressive today in his breakout 20 and 10 performance. Real king salute. Lionel says, didn't Summer League games end for the Knicks? It ended today, fam. So yeah, a lot of people thought there was only 4 games. There was always 5 games with one to be announced. I guess it got some people caught out. I did notice even some reporters, content creators suggest that Knicks Summer League was over, but yeah, they didn't cop the memo that there was 5 games. There's always that consolation game. If you make the playoffs, you go to the next round, and if you don't, you play one last consolation game. Diwara definitely get that rookie roster spot. Man, he's got the 2-way for now, and I think they might even wait till after camp and actually make a final call, because the way this guy's going, man, I mean, there's clear upside in terms of lottery talent with Dink Pate at 6'8", and his ability to finish, man, with the highlight finish, with the steal too. You love the 2 blocks and the 1 steal. I mean, at 6'8", he can do that. You don't see that from point guards traditionally, but when the man's 6'8", and he was feeling it, right? A lot of fans wanted Lonzo Ball. Man, Lonzo Ball's over the hill and dealing with injuries and whatnot, man. We might have our future Lonzo Ball, fam. D'Lo Russell. Our jumbo-sized point guard. Now, I don't think he's going to be a full-time point guard, but I think he could be a guy like a Zach LaVine. That might be a good comparison, fam. A secondary playmaker. A scoring... I think Dink Pate is going to end up as a scoring wing, but as a secondary playmaker, I think a Zach LaVine could be a good, pie in the sky, high ceiling. Maybe his floor is a D'Lo Russell, Lonzo Ball. Ceiling might be a Zach LaVine. Yeah, glad we got the final game today. James Bond says campaign going to be the backup point, man. You're trolling now, James. I think campaign ain't coming back. But he was still, he was working out in his Knicks gear, so he's hoping to come back. I just think it is a squeeze right now. If Diawara and McCullum end up with that rookie spot, I think the final vet spot's going to go to a Landry Shamet. It looks like. El Tango says Deuce is great, but he's more of a 2 than a 1. We need a point guard. Yeah, the organization told us that. AT. I think Deuce McBride's that off-ball kind of guard right now. Look at a wing and a guard's body, and he's good at that role. But I think Jordan Clarkson can do a lot about that as well. Guys, don't forget Jordan Clarkson. He averaged 4 assists to 2 turnovers, so he's going to be on the ball a lot. Right, we didn't bring Jordan Clarkson in here to stand in the corner, fam. That's not his game, guys. So how much on-ball reps is there going to be between Hart, Deuce, and JC? Right, I think JC is probably going to be running the point, and Deuce McBride off of him. Now you could have a McCullum or a Diawara or a Dink Pate, to be a backup option. Kolek, obviously, as well. Not forgetting about Kolek, but I think this is a make or break year for Kolek. Just in terms of where the roster is at and where the organization is at right now. 24 years old, on the highest second round contract salary there's ever been. He needs to produce. Like, I'm a big Kolek fan, but he needs to produce, man, without stating the obvious. Right, you're not paying a guy with a second round pick his contract just to be situational or just to be put other guys ahead of him. He needs to produce, otherwise that contract will get moved. The contract is quite hefty for our salary situation right now. So I think it is going to be a big year ahead for Tyler Kolek, but I do think Kolek plays better with NBA talent. He's a pass-first point guard, right? You put John Stockton with these, this mishmash of summer league guys, and he's going to struggle at times. You put Kolek with NBA pros, he will look better. Now that's the upside. That's the upside. That Tyler Kolek will look better playing with NBA pros. Now the swing skill is obviously defense. Can he hold his own? We know he can pass. I think the 3-point shot is still a question mark as well. He's got to stay aggressive and limit turnovers. And then I think he might be able to carve out a 10-minute role. Prezi the boss says Dink Pate is a combo guard. Al Tango says, CT, do you think Pate can be a point guard in the league with his size and tools? Yeah, I mean, I think like Prezi said, I just think he's a combo right now, but I think he can be a point guard, like whether it be part-time, full-time, I mean, what is Lonzo Ball? What is D'Angelo Russell? D'Angelo Russell came in as a 2 guard, kind of played point as well. Spencer Dinwiddie, I think if I'm Dink Pate, they're all the combos that I should be, molding my game. I'll be watching Spencer Dinwiddie tape. I'll be watching D'Lo Russell, Lonzo Ball, Zach LaVine. I'll be watching all of those guys. Dante Exum. If I'm Dink Pate, I'm watching those guys. Now, he could be a wing as well, but he's too good on the ball, I think, just to be an off-ball wing. And his catch and shoot game is still a major question as well, fam. So, look, I do think that when it comes to Dink Pate, I think the point guard is his highest ceiling, and we'll see how he does guarding other wings with his size. But so far, I think his defense was okay in summer league. Now he needs to put on a little bit more muscle and some weight, and he'll do that because he's young enough. Yeah, you love to see the 3-point ball translate. That was one of my biggest surprises. Yeah, Prezi says we've got mad wings. on the bench. James says, I like Shamit, but if Mike Brown got to choose, I think you would go for Campaign because he's a true point guard over Shamit. Margaret says Dink Pate is Halliburton. He's a point guard. Now, that's a comparison that I should have mentioned as well. He could be looking at Halliburton. Yolonzo's, Halliburton's, Malcolm Brogdon's. But I just think he's special in terms of athlete. He's a better athlete than all of those guys. He's a better athlete than D'Lo, Russell, Lonzo, Halliburton, and the other guy as well. Now, 6'8", his hops was a highlight, especially today, man. And the same with Diawara. I mean, this was the highlight of the night. Reads the play really well, sees what the inbounder is going to do, and whew, man, how many point guards can do that? Like I said, yeah, that's Zach LaVine. That's Zach LaVine right there. With the throwdown stuff. Yeah, he'll fill the stat sheet as well, more than point guards. Because look at the rebounds, 10 rebounds. Look at the steals, the 2 blocks with his length, 3 assists, a steal, 20 and 10, and 4 of 7 from downtown. That is the summer league in the books for Dink Pate, man. Now that we've got a really good look at him, like a really good look, especially today, undrafted, what a steal. What a steal to get this guy undrafted, fam. Thank you to the defunct G League. I know that program didn't, help Dink Pate's draft stock, so that was bad for him in a way. But in a good way, it steered him to us, and he fell in our lap, fam. If Dink Pate had went to college, if he had went to NBL Next Stars route, if he had gone to Europe, he would have got drafted. He would have gone higher. So there's a silver lining with that situation that Dink Pate, went to that bad system, the G League Ignite system that went defunct. And him and his agent, man, were able to steer him to the New York Knicks as an undrafted signing, fam, as well. Who was our best, most recent undrafted signing, fam? I wonder if anyone's going to say Ron Baker. Who was our last best undrafted signing, fam? Was it Alonzo Trier? I could give you that. I think Alonzo Trier gave us a couple of really good years, proved that he was an NBA player and was in the rotation. We weren't a very good team at that stage, but who was our last best, undrafted free agent? And of course, John Starks. He definitely wasn't the last, but he's definitely the best. Definitely the best. Dirty also says, I'm glad the Knicks are in a place where I don't care about the two-way guys much anymore. AP says, I sure hope the big team plays better D than what we saw here. D Grant says you can have confidence in the Summer League or G League. You're playing against weak players. Yeah, a lot of up and down. I think Mike Brown's up and down tempo is really going to suit Dink Pate. As I'm going to try to get the extended highlights for these guys today that showed out. Because, yeah, there was a lot of plays from Diwara with his playmaking and passing as well. But, I mean, Dink Pate stole the show with 20 and 10. Fam. He showed that he's an NBA player right away. And he is going to get the two-way contract, fam. Now, if we didn't have Diwara or other guys, or McCollum, Dink Pate might be getting that final vet spot. Chris says just polish up his ball handling, and yeah, we struck gold with Dink Pate. Yeah, agree, Chris. And look, to a degree, we found something in Beauchamp too. Him coming to us. I see a lot of similarities in Dink Pate and Beauchamp's game. Maybe the Knicks favour one more than the other, or maybe they're going to try to develop both. Stanley, yeah, Alonzo Trier, I think, is still playing pro somewhere. But yeah, we definitely haven't seen much of him recently. Prezi, the boss, says, I wouldn't say he's Halliburton. Let's temper our expectation. At best, he can be our Delano. Banton. When I'm saying Halliburton, I'm saying that's what he should strive for. That's his ceiling. Yeah, I don't think he's Halliburton right now. Yeah, I think if he can have a Spencer Dinwiddie career as an undrafted guy, that would be a big win. Mace, says Dirty. Mace or Starks. Definitely has to be Starks. Margaret says Alonzo. Yep. D. Grant says, can Dink Pate shoot the ball? I've not seen him shoot it. That's been the biggest surprise, D. So maybe you've just joined us, but yeah, we've been talking about it most of the show, fam. He went spaz from downtown. That's been his biggest surprise all summer league. He's shot the ball well. He shot the ball better than Tyler Kolek and Nnaji from downtown. So yeah, to answer your question, can he shoot it? Yes, he absolutely can. Went 3 or 4 from downtown first half. As Margaret, yep, agrees. He does have to work on the shot. I mean, he's 6'8". But yeah, the shot's got a hitch right there. To me, that looks like Mikal Bridges' jump shot right now. And he needs to stay upright. When they teach that jump shot, you shouldn't move either side. You shouldn't move forward. You should stay, straight up. I think Dink Pate kind of moves forward a little bit with his shot. But look, it's a work in progress. The kid's only 19. Now, when it comes to Washington, man, tonight, they threw zone at us, ladies and gentlemen. That's why Washington got back into the game, right? They were playing to win. We didn't care about winning, man. We were playing to develop our guys and just playing freestyle, getting up and down. I couldn't believe what I saw when Washington played zone all second half, right? We were embarrassing them that much that they had to go zone because we just had too many athletes for them. Now, look, in fairness, I think Washington were missing most of their guys, and they only had 7 bodies. So Washington nearly only had 6 bodies today. They found a 7th body. So that paints the picture in terms of why they were, needing to play some zone to make sure that their guys could finish the game out. Iconoclast 6 says McCuller needs a spot with the big club. How do we keep Pate, Diawara, and Beauchamp? Trade Kolek. I think McCuller is going to get that spot. I do think that Beauchamp might be the odd man out, or Nnaji. But if Nnaji doesn't get a spot, Beauchamp can stay, provided he can still get a 2-way. Yeah, James, McCall's shot does look similar. Yeah, I feel so. It's kind of got a little bit of Spencer Dinwiddie as well, and D'Lo Russell. SF Wisdom says Pate looked great today, efficient double-double. Yeah, he did look better as every single game went on, and I think it's a case of Dink Pate, going to come in with a chip on his shoulder. I mean, we mentioned, guys, we asked you, who's the best undrafted recent Knick? The Knicks have found a couple, man. I think we found Luke Kornet as well. Let's not forget about him, fam. The Knicks have signed a lot of undrafted guys that have carved out a career in the league. Whatever you say about their potential or their future, they were able to stay in the league a minute. Ron Baker was one, Alonzo Trier, Luke Kornet. Obviously, Dink Pate has been the highest ceiling out of all of these guys right now, and I think we'll have the better career with his tools. But when it comes to obviously the best, you can't go past Starks. You can't go past Mace. with those guys, man. I'm sure there's some other guys I can't think of right now. But for those that have just joined us, there's been a report from Lee Escobedo on X, basically sources revealing to him that Dink Pate will get the two-way with the Knicks. So that's all but confirmed. So it's down to the rest of the guys in terms of who's going to get those spots, right? Now with McCuller and Beauchamp, there might just be a double up with those guys. Like the organization clearly likes both of those guys, right? But they're both 24, 25-ish. They're both similar positions, similar games. Is there a double up? Did the Knicks just make a call and say, look, McCuller or Beauchamp, you know, one or the other? Because we've already got Dardier on a rookie contract that we're paying. We've got Dink Pate now. We've got Diawara now. Do they look at McCuller and Beauchamp and say, look, both of these guys are 24. We've got to make a decision, because you can't hold on to potential forever for a 24-year-old. At some point, something has to pop. At some point, you have to take your chance and solidify a spot in the league. I think so. That is something to look out for and watch closely, guys. Prezi says, I won't believe anything until it's officially announced. Yeah, I get that, because things could change. You're right. That's smart. Things can change. There's training camp. There's preseason. Don't forget, the players don't need to make their cuts and submit their final rosters to the league until after preseason. Right. So the Knicks got a long way. A lot of summer workouts, training camp, preseason. Mike Brown's here. He's going to get a closer look. Things can change, fam. Things can change. An injury setback. Don't forget, John Starks was on the verge of getting cut until he tried to dunk on Patrick Ewing on the final scrimmage of training camp. And that, man, that rewrote history. That rewrote history for the New York Knicks and John Starks, man. If John Starks didn't try to dunk on Patrick Ewing and get injured, he would have got cut. He would have got cut. And we never would have saw John Starks create magic with the New York Knicks, right? So let's not write off any of these guys, man. Anybody. Let's not write off Anton Watson, right? Let's not write off Day Grant. Or maybe we can write off Day Grant. But you get what I'm saying right now. You get what I'm saying, man. You know, 4 bodies could go down and something crazy could happen. Right. Salvador Perez says, yeah, Pat saw it. Juan says, keep guys fresh and play unpredictable. Yep. For real. Prezi, October 20 is the deadline. So we got a long ways to go, fam. One thing I've been saying, James, about McCuller is a guy that just has to overcome injuries, you know. It's one thing after another with him, man. I don't know, this latest setback was not his fault. But at some point, you're going to have to get over the injury bug. Because, you know, McCuller had been dealing with knee issues. Then he gets wrecked in the face and misses Summer League. Now, McCuller had a 30-piece in the final game. If he was able to play the last 2 games, maybe he puts up another 30-piece. And the organization just says, yep, that's a wrap. He's got the spot. Now, McCuller not being able to finish Summer League, maybe that opens the door up for somebody else. You know, maybe that opens the door up for Dink Pate to even get the spot. Now, we had some other news that I wanted to touch on, guys, as well. Just want to pull this into the spotlight because there's been some talk. You know, the Knicks interviewed Dawn Staley. You got the Indiana Pacers lead assistant as a female. You got Becky Hammon, who's been, you know, touted as the first female head coach in the NBA. Well, what's happened, man? Professionally, the first female head coach of a men's basketball team has been announced. history has been made in Brazil. Brazilian Brazil team as the first female coach of a men's professional team, Jelena Todorovic. Jelena Todorovic. So, congrats to Jelena, and we'll see what comes of this. You know, we'll see if this is the start of more, hires. Obviously, would have, you know, proven, herself through her resume and her career. I can't say that I know her background, uh, but yeah, this is obviously breaking ground in terms of the men's professional division. And obviously, the New York Knicks interviewed Dawn Staley, so there was some level of consideration, given to her in the past as well. So we saw Marjan Beauchamp last game, 28 points. Buzzer says, CT, what about the grades for Summer League, fam? You probably missed it, fam. I know you may have joined us later in the stream, but yeah, we touched on all the grades, went through it, and gave all the grades out. And I'll do a recap in a second. Al Tango says K-Mac has more of an upside than Beauchamp. Look, it's hard, man. I think both are very similar, and that's why I made that point. I'm thinking like they're both 24, and you've got to make a decision. Not that I want to eliminate one of them, so quickly. It's just, how do you see their pathway to minutes, in terms of both of them? Let's say we bring back Landry. We've got Dardier. You've got Hart. You've got Mikhail OG. To carry two 24-year-olds and hold back their development or growth from potentially getting minutes somewhere else, it might be interesting. Johnny says, CT, what options do the Knicks have to lock down Dink Pate from being signed to another team if they sign him to a G League contract? The only option, Johnny, is to give him a two-way. The only option is to give him a two-way contract, and I think that's what the Knicks are going to do. And that basically locks him down. So he can be on the two-way for 3 years. And so I think that's what the Knicks are going to do. He'll be able to play with the Westchester Knicks and 45 ball games with the big squad. So yeah, they're not going to lose out. They're not going to lose out on Dink Pate. Paul says, congrats to Jelena, the head coach in Brazil. Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Ricardo, Knicks definitely got something with Pate. I mean, I think he was going to get drafted late in the second round, but I think his agent said, let him go undrafted, fam, so he can choose his spot. When it comes to Dink Pate, right? Fit is everything. Fit is everything. And obviously the Knicks need another ball handler. They needed some wing help. And I think it was a wise decision right now. He's definitely suffered a setback with his development with the defunct G League Ignite. But I'm glad he found his way to us. He might end up taking this opportunity and just, taking a rotation spot in the future. Yeah, Dirty, in terms of Marjan Beauchamp, it's been so conflicting. I assume that after 3 years, you can't get a two-way. And then I was told the other day that he's got 1 more year of eligibility. And so I think we're going to find out sooner rather than later. My thing is always, when things are in doubt, just follow the steps of the club or what they're doing. And they gave McCollum a qualifying offer. So they didn't give Beauchamp and they didn't give Anton Watson yet a qualifying offer. So those guys are free agents. So they're free agents right now, guys. Anton Watson and Beauchamp could sign with anybody. McCullum cannot. So we we took that extra step to make sure that McCullum can't go anywhere, but we didn't do that with Beauchamp and with Anton Watson. So, but with that said, Beauchamp has definitely helped his case. And I do think if no club is interested in him right now, he'll come to the Knicks training camp. And I think he will, get an opportunity to maybe land a G League spot or impress. So yeah, these are my grades for now. I think Dink Pate and Diawara finished really strong. I'm going to give them the B pluses. Nnaji gets the C. I'll give McCullum and Beauchamp a B. Huckporty gets the A minus for his consistency in his role, and based on relative to expectations, Dardier and Kolek get the B minus. Them. C plus is the average grade, so a lot of these guys were slightly above average. Look, some people might disagree and say they were all average or below average, but I'm looking at it through a different lens because the record doesn't mean anything to me. 1-5, 1-4. You got guys slapped together for just a week. There's no, extended chemistry. There's guys playing for different things. Guys trying to put up shots and showcase their games. But I'm really looking at the two pleasant surprises, which was Diawara and Dink Pate. I could see a world where those two are rotation players on the New York Knicks in 2 years from now. Like regular rotation players. Don't forget, if there's a trade in the future, the depth is going to get thinned out. The depth's going to get thinned out a little. Ricardo says, I wasn't that impressed with Nnaji. He was a walking foul. Yeah, James, Ricardo, I think he was dealing with some back issues which hampered his mobility. But there were flashes, Flashes, I think, worth taking a chance on a two-way. One of these things is ball handling. I thought, yeah, he showed some signs there getting to the rack and drawing the foul. Yeah, Dirty Dancer says articles differ on the 3 or 4 years on the two-way eligibility. Yeah. So, yeah, my opinion, just when it comes down to Beauchamp, it's like he's 24 going on 25. To me, the two-way spot's not for that, in my opinion. My opinion is the two-way spot is for a really young, a more raw prospect that needs time to develop. If I'm a GM, I'm evaluating a guy like if you're 24 or 25 and you can't help me and you can't make my main squad, then unfortunately I'm going to have to go with somebody else. That's just the way I look at it. So basically, Beauchamp's competing for the veteran spot, in my opinion. He's competing for the veteran spot because putting him in on the two-way for one more year as a 24-year-old, that doesn't do anything for me personally, because that's a spot where it's like I don't think he's going to change a whole lot in 1 year's time. He's already 24, 25. In regards to Chuma Akeke, James, he just signed with Real Madrid in Spain. So no Chuma Akeke coming, guys, which is okay because I think Okeke is really struggling to find a spot in the league with his jump shot. And I think we've got Dink Pate now. We got Kevin McCullum now. So Chuma Akeke signed with Real Madrid in the Spanish league. Yeah, Diwara driving to the lane. His skill set was really eye popping, man. Especially this wraparound, man. The vision, right? I mean, I couldn't even see that guy in the corner. At one point, the defender was blocking him. But obviously, Diawara has that spatial awareness, fam. That's what you get from overseas ball and playing professionally organized basketball. See, what some of y'all may not realize is in Europe, in European basketball, there's less isolation. There's a lot more of this. Players have to know where their teammates are and swing the basketball. right? Because you have to move the defense around, fam. In Europe, there's no 3 second count. There's no defensive 3 second. So the defender can park themselves under the basket and protect the hoop. So the players learn to shift the ball around a lot more. So Diawara has that trait that he comes in with, the habit of kicking that ball out. Yet the 7'4" wingspan is incredible. But also what I'll say, like I said earlier, is Diawara's standing reach is 9'2". 7'4" wingspan, 9'2" standing reach. Nnaji's standing reach is 9'4". So Diawara's standing reach is the same as center's. When he puts his hand up, standing reach and verticality. So basically Diawara is a guy who could guard you fives, like a Larry Nance, like a Derek Jones Jr., like those kind of guys, like a Pascal Siakam. And I think I give him the spot, man. I give Diawara the regular roster spot. I ain't playing, man. I like Kevin McCullough, but with Diawara, right, we need another big man. Yabusele is 6'8", and he's not a traditional center. Huck Porty got question marks. Mitchell Robinson health issues and Cat foul trouble potentially opens the door for another guy who could guard fives. And we know Diawara can do that now with his length. So I'm giving that final regular roster spot to Diawara. I've changed my mind. It was McCullough, but I give it to Diwara. Look at the playmaking just wowed me. The ball handling just, it changed things for me. The fact that he feels this comfortable making a read and passing out of pick and roll. Yep, Stanley agrees with me with Beauchamp. At his age, he's either regular roster spot or he plays somewhere else. Yeah, I think that the two ways were better suited for some younger guys. Salvador Perez says Diawara was diving for those loose balls. He was overwhelming or imposing, it seems. Yep. Ricardo says Marajon is okay, nothing special. I'll go Dink, Diawara, and Watson over him. Watson had a good game. Watson had a good game today. And I agree. I hope we don't stash Diawara over in Europe. I can't see that happening now, Ricardo. I think Diawara stays. 100% he stays, fam. Let me pull up his highlights from the other night. Well, yeah, let's look at this one as well. He's got the step back three in his arsenal too. This is Spencer Dinwiddie, Zach LaVine type play, man. But look, when the defender gives you that much space, you gotta make him pay. Jason Benjamin with the super chat contribution. Appreciate you. Thank you much for this. Dink says, Jason says Dink should get a two-way, very athletic upside. The 3-point ball was special, in summer league. Jason, that was the biggest surprise for me, was his ability to shoot it. Now, I want to see him a little bit more polished finishing at the basket, but the 10 rebounds was excellent. Dirty says Watson stinks. I think he's another guy that's an older prospect that you have to look at through a different lens, in terms of the upside. Coach likes McCullough. Sign McCullough in his space. Yeah, it's just frustrating we didn't get to see more McCullough, but he has to stay healthy. He has to avoid those injuries, fam. That's the biggest issue. Now, Mitchell Robinson, speaking of another issue, was the free throw shooting. Now, Mitch has been working with his trainer, Marcel Scott and Butch Stockton on the free throws. Now you see progress, ladies and gentlemen. Now that's all you want to see right now. It has to translate. But what do you see that's different? You see an arc. You see a softer touch. No more straight line drive, beeline, fam, as well. They call it a free throw because it's free. And our Knicks have to knock these down when it comes to going into next season. And I want to see Mitchell Robinson shoot 65, 70% would be excellent, right? Now, we've seen this before. He's been putting out these videos in the past. So we'll see how that translates. This was Dink Pate the other night, hitting the corner three. This was against Indiana. You see him driving, finishing with the left. I want to see him get to that paint a lot more. So, yeah, the pull-up. Again, the 4-point play. That was very Mikal Bridges-esque. His motor seems very good. Very good athlete. Great bounce pass to find Kolek with that one. Now, Diwara. His highlights. I think the other game was probably more impressive. Here, this game against Brooklyn was the breakout for me for Diawara. Right. See, pushing him and taking and going, grabbing and going. Great pass to McCollum there. Diawara, again, comfortable going left. Playmaking out of the pick and roll, finding Luka Shuka. This one was against Brooklyn. Great little dump down to James Nnaji. I mean, his tools, his ability to get to his spots, man, it looks ahead of Dardier and it looks ahead of Kevin McCollum. Right, I wasn't expecting this. I wasn't expecting him to earn a roster spot, like a real roster spot. But if I'm giving them out now, he gets it. He gets that rookie exception right now. He's a handful in transition as well. Now, imagine him practicing with Mike Brown, who's going to run more practices all throughout the season. He's just going to get better and better. That playmaking vision, it really pops. And yeah, there's other parts of his game that's quite raw in terms of finishing, in terms of, the jump shot, all of those things. But with that said, I think, he's ahead of a lot of these guys right now. Would you guys agree? Who are you going to give that final rookie spot to? Salvador agrees. Diwara seems more advanced. Johnny says Dink, Dia, and Daddy, 3 prospects whose games should improve with age. Keepers all. Yep. We've got the French connection now. Glenn Jones is in the building with Sean Jones. Sean says he always has these types of videos, but never translates. With Mitchell Robinson, yeah. Sadly, Glenn says, salute, brother. We Knicks fans talking about the guys we have, but there's going to be good guys cut from all over the league who may be better than what we have. Got to slow down. Best show on YouTube. Salute, Glenn. You're absolutely right in terms of guys getting cut and buyouts, etc. Malcolm Brogdon could get bought out. Sean Jones says Ewing needs to work with these bigs. I think great to see Patrick with the organization now, and his presence is increasing. I would love to see him as an assistant. Just give him a defensive assistant role, and he can work with these bigs instead of Mark Bryant. Dirty says, Diawara, I'm really torn on whether or not we need to carry 5 centers with how brittle some of these guys are. That's exactly what I've been thinking, Dirty. And that's why I give Diawara that final spot. Because I was just really looking at the roster and I'm like, yeah, McCullum deserves that rookie spot. But what does that really do for us? What does that do for the team if you've got Clarkson, Hart, McCall, OG. You've got Dardier as well. You've got Landry, who you're probably going to bring. Where are minutes going to come from McCuller? Whereas if you give it to Diawara, there's a pathway. Huck Porty, let's say his knee plays up. Yabu or Yabu, Mitchell, Cat misses some time. Suddenly you're down to just two bigs. You got to get through an entire season with just two bigs. And I don't want to play OG Anunoby at the 5. So, just for his sheer versatility, Diawara can just play. He can play anywhere. He could play 2, 3, 4, 5. And I think Mike Brown's gonna love that. I think Mike Brown's thinking, like, we all know how much of a, how hyped he was to get wings in Sacramento. He wanted to get OG. He wanted to get Mikal Bridges in Sacramento. I think Mike Brown's sitting there courtside, like, if you look at his page, all of those notes that he's scribbling down, it's going to be like Bart Simpson in The Simpsons on the blackboard. Get me Muhammad Diawara. Get me Muhammad Diawara. Get me Muhammad Diawara. That's all you're going to see on those notes from Mike Brown. Jason Benjamin says Pack, McCuller, Kolek, Dia, and Nnaji should be the last 5. So basically the odd man out is going to be Beauchamp. Yep, Pack, McCuller, Kolek, Diawara, and Nnaji should be the last 5. If Beauchamp is eligible for a 2-way, I could see him beating out Nnaji. But you make a great point with Nnaji there, as we were speaking on. Nnaji could be a guy that they look at and say, yeah, we're a little light on the centers. Let's just bring him in just in case. Let's just bring Nnaji in just in case. They might be looking at that too, Because like I said, guys, Summer League ain't exactly what it's going to be in the real thing. Not everything translates, guys, when it comes to Summer League. With regards to Huck Porty, we've seen a lot of this translate, but it's not the same thing for a lot of these guys, right? Kolek might look better with NBA setting. James Nnaji might look better setting big picks and rebounding in the NBA with better spacing, because they have clearer skill sets, right? Now Nnaji couldn't really find his spots in Summer League because everybody's trying to show out and everybody's on the ball a little too much. But Nnaji just has to learn to play better in his role, and I think he could be a guy that might stick on the 2-way. Margaret says OG gets hurt, Diawara can get his minutes. OG was healthy last season, Margaret, so hopefully he stays healthy. Sean says Diwara is a diamond in the rough. So far, so good, man. What we're seeing is legit. The on-ball reps was completely eye-opening for me. Dirty says, I'm really curious if both James and Mo are open to 2-ways or only one of them. I'm going to think Muhammad Diawara is definitely open to a 2-way, and I think James Nnaji would be a question because, yeah, you think about the European contract. He's come all the way over. I read that article with the New York Post with his agent saying we're confident he can earn a spot, and we'll see in Summer League if he can earn a spot, and then we'll take it from there after that. So to me, that sounds like his agent was saying, and this was prior to Summer League, it sounds like his agent was saying, we're going to have to earn a spot, but we're confident that we can. And has he really done that? I don't know, over some of these other guys. Would he be okay going back to Europe or instead of taking the 2-way? That's going to be interesting too. maybe Mike Brown has more of a say. Mike Brown might be like, you know what, I'm ready to win now. Get me Beauchamp. Forget Nnaji. Mike Brown might be like, go back overseas for a year. I prefer to have Beauchamp. So there's a lot of factors, a lot of voices in that room making decisions. But I think we're pretty safe to say that McCuller, Dardier, Kolek, Huckporty are going to be around. Everybody from last year, those 4 guys are going to be around. This year it's going to be Diawara and Dink Pate. And the rest is going to be up to Beauchamp, Watson, and Nnaji. Right, when it comes to that. I mean, every game Diawara shows you something that's different. Like that game we did this. He did the jab step. like, what is that, man? Like, he was supposed to be so raw that people were saying that he might not ever come over. And he's flashing a Carmelo Anthony jab step. Man, on the elbow. Like, it's just, I don't know, mate. I said this, I think, after the second game, but maybe after the season, maybe Diawara started his workouts and his game started to really progress. Right. A lot of draft scouts, like, the draft scouts from Bleacher Report, Jonathan Wasserman, Sam Vecini of The Athletic, the guys at No Ceilings, all do a great job, but they all can only evaluate on what they see. Right. You can only evaluate on what your eye sees. But once the French season was over, Diwara is still, 19 going on 20? He's physically growing still. He starts to work out for different teams, starts to get, more confident. Maybe parts of his game are starting to translate. And then, teams like the Knicks get to see that in the workouts. Apparently Diawara was one of our first workouts. And obviously he killed that workout because the Knicks like what they saw and they took him. And then you had takes after the draft, like, the Knicks taking a flyer on Diwara, draft and stash. Yeah, there's a chance he may never come over. Next thing you know, he's one of the more impressive guys on the team in Summer League. So that tells me that, like, his game is still growing at a rapid speed, at a rapid pace. And some of these takes are maybe outdated. J Dub says I would use Diawara rather than Nnaji. Yeah, I would agree, man. I wouldn't expect to put the same two in the conversation, but their wingspans are very similar. So yeah, Diawara is so versatile. Johnny says Mitch free throw videos are exciting because they're so important. Not really exciting. Now, when it comes to excitement, guys, Tyler Kolek. Does Tyler Kolek excite you? Do you want to see more? Are you leaving Summer League kind of underwhelmed, or did he show you basically what you already knew? I'll give Kolek a B-. Slow start, finish stronger, but for me, there's still question marks. He didn't really have a couple of breakout performances in a row where it's like, yes, that's what he's going to do at the NBA level. Now, I understand what the narrative is that he's playing with Summer League guys. And so that is very true. I think he could look a lot better with NBA guys, But so far, I'm a little bit underwhelmed with Kolek. Marvin gives Kolek a D. Buzzer Beater, salute, says I was underwhelmed by Kolek. Yeah, I think if it wasn't for the solid finish, it would have been massively underwhelming. But he kind of picked things up a little bit late. But I think the fact that the Knicks are looking for a veteran buzzer and chat, I think we are looking for another veteran, a point guard. And I think Landry is a backup plan right now. You know, I think Marcus Smart going, was obviously a miss. Now that Marcus Smart's gone, we're probably waiting on on Brogdon, maybe some other guys, some other point guards. But look, I do think it's probably going to be Landry. Uh, in the end, I think it's probably end up going to be Landry. What do you guys think about that? Sean says he got exposed badly in the second game. Yeah, Sean, it was kind of a typical summer league Storm. It was like he was trapped, he was blitzed, he faced ferocious defense in that one. And that's the concern, that's the worry when it comes to Kolek. When he's given space, he can do things. He can get to his spots. You know. Not saying he can't be productive. We all know Tyler Kolek can be very productive. It's like I'm just trying to find out where his middle ground is, guys. You saw unbelievable struggle. You saw a crazy 30-point game. It's like, what is the real Tyler Kolek? You know, is he just a mixed bag? Is he a fringe NBA player right now? We'll see how it plays out, fam. I think he's going to get 1 year with the club, and I think they're going to make a decision. Jason B says Kolek will look better with NBA starters, in my opinion. I agree, he will. He'll look better with NBA pros, but he'll also be up against NBA level defenders as well. So he's going to have to, hold his own against those guys. But I think Kolek can be aggressive. He's got to play fast, try to beat the trap, get up and down, get to his spots, and facilitate, and not turn the ball over, fam. Jason, I think his biggest swing skill is the 3-point shot. 5 of 12 in one of those games, struggled from downtown in a lot of the other games, including today, fam. So the shot's a little erratic right now. Hopefully he can come good. As I know AP's a big fan of Tyler Kolek too. And look, he has a very high floor. I think that's working in his favor right now. Not so much high ceiling, but Tyler Kolek has got a higher floor. Where if he can just meet that level of 6, 7 assists, less than 2 turnovers, hold his own and carve out a 12 to 15 minute role as a backup, he could be in the league for 10 years. Look at these guys: Trey Jones, Tyus Jones, Corey Joseph, guys that have been DeLon Wright, been able to stick in the league for 10 years. Not flashy, just survive as an NBA backup. And then you look at the worst case scenario. You look at guys like, the French point guard. What's his name? The the French point guard that the Knicks were looking at earlier that went to Washington. Didn't work out. Right. That's a cautionary tale. Who came in? Went to Detroit. Actually, went to Detroit. That guy. Forget his name, man. Margaret likes Shamit. Salvador says physicality affects Tyler Kolek. That's the thing. Yeah, you could trap him and blitz. Not Frank Buzzer. Not Frank Ntilikina. The guy who came out after Frank. The combo guard that came out from Detroit, but he's kind of out of the league now. He suffered a few injuries. That's sort of the worst case where you can't stick. The best case scenario is like, a guy like Ish Smith, who could be that backup point guard for like 12 years. Fair. Yes, you got it, man. Killian Hayes. Killer Killian Hayes, man. Yeah, Marcus got it as well, fam. Appreciate y'all. Man, the name was on the tip of my tongue. But yeah, look, Killian Hayes, I think he's kind of still 1 foot out the league, 1 foot in the league, but I think he's going to be overseas, like Frank, man. If Kolek don't come to play this year, he might be in a similar spot. Just given his age, I think. but he could also take that spot with both hands and grab it. That's the million-dollar question, Johnny. Will Kolek's game translate to the NBA level, efficiency at some point? Or will he always become physically overwhelmed by best players in the world? I think it's a safe bet that Kolek stays. I think it's a safe bet he sticks in the league as a backup. I mean, the shot looks okay. It's not broken. I just think he's got to really become money with the floater. I think that's something that you have to work on if you're undersized. Also, don't turn the ball over. Learn to play with that physicality. Fam, learn to play with that physicality. James says Kolek, Summer League should be a breeze for Kolek. If he was so good, I don't trust him to back up Brunson at all. I think, Summer League, I was expecting Kolek to dominate. He had, 1.5 dominant performances, but the rest was very underwhelming. So I think he could have done a lot better, like you say. And I think he's going to have to really come into training camp and show what he can do, man. Brand new coach, up-tempo system. And hopefully he can, fam. As you see, he had the 20 piece. But here, he does need the pick and roll. He does need the pick to get freed up quite a lot. He struggles getting separation with his lack of speed burst, fam. Now, his handle is obviously very solid. That's his base. That's his foundation. If he can tighten that handle even more, he'll be able to navigate these pesky full court pressures, full court presses, because that's what he's going to have to be. He's going to have to be that pest, be that best version of like TJ McConnell. But I think he's going to have to speed things up a little bit. I think he was playing a little too slow, in my opinion, at times, looking over his shoulder. Like this. I'm not a fan of the point guard looking over their shoulder in that situation, right? Once you get around that pick, you only have like a millisecond to make a play, make something happen. You shouldn't be stopping or slowing down, I think, to look over your shoulder. And I think that'll come with confidence and more reps right there. He should be just stepping into that three a lot quicker. Margaret says Kolek will translate. He works hard, and you think he can be TJ McConnell. That's probably his ceiling, to be respectful to TJ McConnell, man. He's been better every single year in the league and impactful at the NBA Finals level. Trey Lyles is a good name, Johnny. I think Trey Lyles is a guy that I think that Mike Brown likes. He wouldn't be the first guy I would go. I would probably choose Landry over Trey. I think Trey Lyles, you've got Muhammad Diawara now, who I think can guard multiple positions. Trey Lyles is a little bit meh for me. I think he'll be a solid depth piece. I don't dislike Trey Lyles. I would just go with Landry instead. And I would stick with Diwara. Jason Benjamin says, I don't get why Knicks Nation is so down on Tyler Kolek. Look at his tape during the regular season with the starters. He's not as bad as people are making him. Jason, I just think expectations when expectations get higher, so does the criticism or the critique. A lot of people are coming in wanting to see him dominate Summer League. But you're right, you need to evaluate based on the NBA, but he also has to make a better case for himself, I think, with a new coach coming in. So I do think Tibbs was a Kolek guy. And I do think with Mike Brown here, he shows tough love. He was very tough on Keon Ellis. He was very tough on Malik Monk and got him to raise his level. So let's hope that Mike Brown can get the best out of Tyler Kolek. I do think Kolek was a Tibbs guy in terms of Tibbs wanted the organization to take that pick. Sho Khan says, let's get Boucher instead of Trey Lyles. Yeah, I would agree. I would take Boucher over Trey Lyles, but we have our own Boucher now. I'm that hyped with Mohamed Diawara. I think Brogdon could be the move, fam. Yeah, another shooter, another perimeter defender guy who could ball handle, man. I agree with Roberto on this one. If we can't get Ben Simmons, try to get Brogdon. Heck, I know some of these names might not be sexy, but even they might look at Corey Joseph. They might look at Lonnie Walker. I think we've got most positions covered now, except, a real backup point guard. with experience, a backup point guard with experience, Now, as a championship contender, guys, like, are you going to come into the season trusting a Tyler Kolek? As the backup point guard. Like, I don't think they're going to be able to do that with Kolek, just given the situation of the club, and we're competing right now. Chris Paul still out there. Kind of waiting to see what he does, I think he's still going to go to LA. Yeah, I do like Lonnie Walker, man. I do feel like Lonnie Walker is athletic. I like his athleticism. Ricardo, at this point, Brogdon's not available though. He still has to get a buyout. So that's the holdup. That's the holdup, fam. Brogdon's not available right now. He needs a buyout. So we can't just go out and get Brogdon. So we're waiting to see what happens right now. Yeah, we might just have to see what Kolek's got. As Jason said, Tyler would give better minutes over campaign. Fam. Look, I like I like Kolek's reading of the floor better than campaign. So I think that's a good shout. Pass first, looking for his guys. I think Payne obviously had better 3-point shooting though. So we'll wait to see. Dirty says Brogdon is a free agent, I'm pretty sure. Really? Okay, that's a surprise. Okay, I stand corrected, guys. Apologies. Brogdon is a free agent. Okay, that's a major surprise for me. I kind of felt like he was still on Washington, that we're still waiting for. I thought we were still waiting on the buyout. Yeah, apologies before as well. Someone asked me about Delano Banton as well. J-Dub says Delano Banton, 25 years old, point guard at 6'8". That's a good name. Delano Banton, that's a good name. I would look out for him, fam. Now, my only concern with Brogdon is the injuries, fam. That's something you got to look out for, guys. I don't want to eat up that veteran spot for somebody that can't stay healthy. I think that's, that would be a waste of a spot. And Amir Coffey is another guy that I like too. The only thing with Amir is where is he going to get minutes? But I guess if you're going to go Shamet, do you take Amir Coffey over him? Does Mike Brown get his guy, which is Trey Lyles? We're going to find out real soon, fam. On the next episode of The Streets Are Buzzing, with the Summer League now in the books, guys. It's been fun, right? It's a little up and down, slow start. The team didn't do as well as we hoped, but some guys really popped. And that's what Summer League is all about. So that's a win for me. We got to see Diawara, Dink Pate. Do our new pickups, this year's pickups, have higher upsides than last year's pickups? I would agree. I would say yes. I would say the upside of Dink Pate, Diwara, and Nnaji have higher upsides than McCollum, Hukporti, and Kolek, with Diawara being the exception from last season. So, for that perspective, I think Summer League has been what it was needed for us to evaluate these guys and to make a decision. And I think Dink Pate earned the two-way, and I do think that Diawara has earned to stay in New York and not go back to France, fam. So we'll see what happens. Tyler's still got work to do, says Bob. Bodega Wi-Fi says I'm good with Shamit, Ben Simmons, or Trey Lyles. Man, Brogdon might go out west. Yeah, we'll see what happens. But appreciate y'all for rocking with us tonight. Smash that like button. Subscribe to the channel. You've got the Knicks streets buzzing. Probably the biggest question mark is over James Nnaji over Summer League. Just didn't really see enough from him in terms of minutes / production. And we'll see what awaits Nnaji, fam. We'll be back on live early next week, and I'm pretty sure that the New York Knicks will solidify some of these spots, and we'll be able to chop up the latest, as Marcus Smart is off the board now. So the Knicks are most likely looking to bring Landry Shamet back with the squad, so would not be mad at that at all. Peace, everyone. See you on the next one.